I'm CK. Tonight we've got one from a company I haven't done anything with before, Mitch Electronics out of the UK. This is their 555 Synth Punk kit, and as you can make an assumption, it's based on the 555 timer chip. They're using it as an audio source. They say it's similar to the sounds from an Atari from the mid-80s or from the 80s. So we'll put it together, see how the documentation, everything looks, and I hope you enjoy the video. Here's the bag, and it's got a QR code. I actually looked it up instead of following the QR code just because I felt like it. And there's a real good, the creator of this kit has a real nice schematic and a real nice block diagram breaking it down to showing the keys, the two different 555 timer oscillators that we're going to create, an A-stable and a monostable, and the little output amplifier and the power circuit. And he's even got a simulation and real good pictures and a real good diagram. So I think, oh, the build instructions are pretty minimal. Oh wait, no, there's a different one. Oh no, that's they have a, I'm sorry for being inarticulate, but I'm reading this on the fly. He does have an electronics construction guide linked to this page too. Learn about how to solder electronic components. Download the electronic construction manual free using the button below. I'm going to actually tap that right now, just because why not? Oh no, this is a good little thing. I may link to that too, or I may go through that in depth in the future. But right now we're working on this kit. And again, it's from Great Britain, designed and manufactured in Great Britain. And this is serial number 8000008. Put together October 8th, 2023, so this is very recent. And we'll open the bag up, or we won't open, we'll try to open the bag up. If you've watched my videos, you know I'm not very good at opening these bags. Whew, whew. Here's circuit board first. Good quality. Looks relatively straightforward, relatively simple, because again, relying on the 555s, two 555s, and some transistors for amplification makes it pretty simple. Looks like we've got some switches here, or which will be our keys, and then it looks like some variable resistors which will set the tone. If you read up on a 555 timer, it's the capacitor. Capacitor and resistors make up the speed of the oscillations, or the speed of the clock ticks. So that's how we will tune our tones. Two ICs, which I assume are both going to be 555s. Couple of capacitors, couple of resistors, something here, I don't know what that is. Some transistors, some big old multi-thing, pin thing. Some, I think this is power, but I'm not sure. And one diode for polarity protection, looks like, and a big old electrolytic cap. Let's dump everything out and see how good the kit is. I think it's going to be pretty good. I have some confidence in this one based on reading the web page that goes with this. Nothing left in the bag. Then we've got our 4 104 caps. Wow, these are big 104s. That's 100 nanofarad, but these are big. Which means, number one, they're inexpensive, and number two, they're inexpensive. And here's a potentiometer. I guess that's going to go here. Might be for volume, we'll find out. It's got a V by it, so probably volume, huh? What do you think? It's got a little, oh God, I wish I wish the world had a better solution than these little speakers. The quality is so poor. This is 8 ohm, 1 watt. Then we've got 100 microfarad electrolytic. We've got a connector. I don't know whether that may be for an external speaker. Got the transistor, and what's part number? Is it a 39? Yeah, it's a 3904. No, is that 39? I'm sorry, I can't quite see it. And my magnifier really doesn't. Magnifier is filthy. I can't see through it. I can't read it, but I think it's a 3809 or whatever. And then we've got some 555s. I don't know who these are made by. I get TI 555s when I order them. I'm not sure who this is from. I don't recognize the logo or the manufacturer's abbreviation. SLBL. And then there's a G. I don't know what that means. And then little tack switches for tactile, and 2 sockets, and a couple of pieces of wire. Oh, it's a 9 volt. Okay, good. So that will be easy to do. What is this? That's a 3906. Let me look at that board again. I didn't see 2 of them. Oh no, they're right there. Never mind. Of course there are 2 of them. So it's 3906. They're both 3906. Oh wait, this is a 3904, and this is a 3906. Interesting. Okay, and a couple of resistors which go here and here. So we'll go ahead and get the soldering iron heated up, and we'll put this thing together. Now, before we get started with the assembly, I do want to point out the 2 schematics he provides, which I think are really good. Here's just the general schematic, and then here is the schematic blocked out so you can see exactly what does what. Here's the switches and the rheostats, or variable resistors, which set the tone. Here's the 555 providing an astable output, and here's the 555 providing the monostable output. And for those, I'm not going to go into exactly what a 555 does. There are really good resources on the web to read up on it, and you probably should, because 555s are everywhere, and they were made, first designed in 1972, and they're still made by the millions today because they're so useful. And here's the output stage, and that's where we're using the 2 transistors. The output of this 555 hits their gates, and the 2 resistors, the 3904 and transistors 39 and 3904 and 3906 work together to amplify the output of the 555 waveform generation, which then goes to either the audio jack or the little bitty speaker. I'll put the audio jack on and we'll see if it has enough power to drive one of my little speakers. We'll see. And then the battery diagram, just a power where the battery comes in, goes to ground, goes through the diode to VCC to power the whole thing. So I just wanted to point out that it's got a really good schematic, and he goes into detail on it too, as well as, again, showing simulation of how it works and all that. And what I'm going to be doing is pulling up the bill of materials or component list, because he doesn't have the values on the board. It's not going to be hard to see what's going on, but it's a good idea to always double check. And we've got 2 1K resistors that we'll start with. And for frequent viewers of my channel, one thing that we will notice tonight is There's only 2 resistors, so there will be no resistor time, because resistor time will be about a minute. Oops. Yeah, you want to bend the resistors close to the leads, close to the body. I didn't bend them close enough. And we'll put the diode in, which is here and has a nice white stripe to show you where the stripe on the diode goes to ensure the polarity is correct. And what else do we want to do? I think I'll put the switches on right now also, because they click into place pretty well. Now the switches, these tactile switches, which again you can get by the bag full from Mauser or other electronic retailers, they're inexpensive as heck. They are not square, they are rectangular. And that means that it's very easy to put them in the right way, because getting them crossed takes a bit of force, and whenever you're... Now that one didn't go in. You're ruining my plans here, buddy. You're supposed to go in tightly so I don't have to worry about holding you in place when I'm soldering you. I spread 2 of the leads out a little bit there. That made it go in. And now we'll put all the little pots on too, the variable resistors. Again, they change the rate of oscillation. Actually, I'm not going to put those in right now because they're going to need some holding to get them in. So I'll just solder up the little pieces I put together here, and I'll do it after the first one without commentary. Oh, that's a very fine board. This board is real good quality for a kit at this price point. This is a very good circuit board. So I'll just solder all these up and speed the cameras up, or speed the video playback up. Now we'll put the little variable resistors on, and I'll use this piece of foam to keep them in place. Some of them are going in snugly, some of them are a little loose and I don't want to mess with them. And these two are having a relationship. Come on, guys! This is a G-rated channel. And it looks like, just for a side note, it looks like this is to expand it. If you want to add some more switches or add additional tones, you could connect here and bring up a bunch more switches and a bunch more resistors to set other tones. We're not going to be doing that, but something that you might want to experiment with if you build this. And I'm going to go ahead and put the sockets on. And I rest the socket on my pinky behind the board. And solder one pin. And take a look and make sure it's flat. And it is. We're also making sure the notch on the socket matches the notch printed on the circuit board. I keep turning it wrong side up. I'm not sure why I'm doing that. Then we'll put the decoupling caps in here, and I don't tear them out of the tape. I clip them off the tape, because if you try and tear them off, you'll bend leads. You can even pull them loose, which is always a bad thing. I think these directions may be wrong, because they're saying to put 100 nano or 104 here at C5 and put the electrolytic at C1. And I don't believe that's really what they meant. I think that's a misprint. Because first off, it doesn't make any sense. And secondly, obviously this C1 cap is non-polarized. There's no markings. It's designed for one of these disc caps. Well, let me look at see if the schematic has... Oh, I see what happened. This is supposed to be labeled C1, and then that should be C2, C3, C4, and C5. Because again, if you look at the schematic, you can see by the connected to the 555 legs like we just did, those are all the 100 nanos, and then going out to the speaker is the 100 micro. And we can see, just by looking at the board and looking at the traces, that's what's happening. So the board is mislabeled, so the directions are not wrong if the board had been labeled correctly. CK from the future, and I got in touch with the people who make the kit, and he said, thanks very much for pointing this out. He's updating the webpage and the schematic, so by the time you see this, it should be all cleared up. And I appreciate his quick response. But I'm not going to put that electrolytic on quite yet. I'm going to put the 2 transistors on first, and again, it's important that we get the 904 in Q1. That's the 904, and that goes in Q1. With the flat side of the transistor facing the flat side of the printing on the board. And the 906 goes in Q2, and the 2 flat sides face each other. They don't have to, that doesn't mean anything, it's just a little convenience. Now we'll put the electrolytic on, and as you may see, there's a very, very tiny plus sign, but pay more attention to the shaded side will be the negative side, matching the shading on the capacitor body. Well, I'm here. I may as well put the speaker or headphone jack on here too. And the potentiometer. And we'll do a bunch of little soldering here. With the pot in there, I'll raise things up with the foam again. And the pot is kind of flopping around, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder the middle leg on it, let that cool, see if it's vertical. It's not quite vertical, so I'm going to heat it up again a little bit and just rearrange it, let it cool. And now that's pretty much as vertical as I will be able to get it with my limited ability to make things vertical. That's why my capacitors often look like they're all just walked out of a bar, because they're all on their sides. Now, we'll put the battery snap cap in. And black goes here. And I always do them one at a time, because if I try and do them at the same time, I knock one of them out anyway. Because that's just a habit I know about myself. I'm sorry. I just dropped the solder and I just had it. This is going to be a little bit. Stay in there. Nope, it's not going to stay in there, so we grab our locking tweezers and just connect it to the other wire and hold it in place while we solder it. Locking tweezers are a very handy thing to have on your workbench. Double checking I got the polarity right, because I certainly have gotten it wrong in the past. Now we're going to take this wire that they provided, which is pretty short, but that's okay. And I'm going to solder this to the speaker first. So there's already a little solder on the pads that we're going to be using. So we will simply lay the wire down on it, heat the existing solder up. If I can get my soldering iron in there without messing things up too much, and the wire sinks into it, and that's good for that one. Sinks into the existing solder. Though not very well. I'm going to add a little bit of solder on top of that. Just because I don't think this is very high quality solder on these already existing on the speaker anyway. There we go. Now I just undid the fine twisting job I had done. So we will go, we're going to pay attention to the polarity. It's not generally a big deal for a audio source like this, because you're not too worried about phasing, but we'll do it just because that's what the board says to do, and we have no reason to do it a different way. This one may stay in without tweezing, we'll see. Make sure I got good connection there, and I did, I whiskered it. I let a whisker get loose. And now I'm going to bend the capacitors back just a hair and put the two 555s in. These are identical. Again, one is for the astable side, which creates the square wave, the continuous square wave. The other is monostable, which means it's going to do a one shot, which when you press this, which basically is the key, is the trigger. Probably, if you're going to do this, I'd say you probably want to put the 555s on before you put the potentiometer on, because this one's a little bit hard to get at. And if you've got a youngster doing this kit, I would definitely recommend that, because it would be easier than them trying to work around it. This one is less of an issue. All the pins are in and nothing's bent. I'm gonna, even though it's a very simple kit, I'm gonna do what I usually do anyway, which is take a index card and go through all the connections and see if we missed any. And we did. I didn't do those pins on that socket. That's why I always do this. Even if it's a simple kit, I make mistakes. And this would have worked very, very weirdly, if it worked at all, without these 4 pins being connected. But that's, again, habits you see me do are built from decades of mistakes. Okay, let me go get a battery from my battery charging side of the shop, all the way over here. I think this will work. I use rechargeables. I tend to use rechargeables from EBL. I use rechargeables throughout on all the work I do here. Just because I would go through so many batteries if I didn't, and that would be bad. So let's see. See if I can hear anything through this little. I'll turn the pot up to the middle. Let's see if we can get anything. Ooh, that's a nice sound. I'm going to put the microphone closer to this little speaker. Now I'm going to take a little screwdriver. Where is my little straight screwdriver? It's supposed to be right there. Where on earth did I put it? I've got to back up, but I didn't want to use this one. So if we do this and change the resistance, well, let me turn the potentiometer up so we can hear better. Oh, that's not volume. It's actually contributing. Oh, it's octave. You could think of it as octave range for these tones. But as we change the pot, we can do some simple tuning. And of course it's not in any sequence. And we can have a good time. And if we fire off 2 of them, it's only taking the low one. I'm going to plug in my Workbench headphones into the audio jack. Let's see what it sounds like. You won't be able to hear this, of course. Oh, golly gosh, is it loud? You don't want to use that with headphones, lads and lassies. That's too loud for your little ears. But it works very well. So that's it. This is a very good kit. Except for the misprinting on the labeling of this capacitor, just look at the pictures instead, or look at this video if you happen to find it before you do the build. This is supposed to be labeled C1. It's labeled C5, but it's supposed to be C1. Big cap goes here, little caps go here. And it's got a great schematic. It's got a good description of what's going on. And all in all, I'm very pleased with this kit. And I hope you enjoyed the video.